Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It is Friday, January 15th, 2021. I am Andrew Hansen alongside Joe Sarvati, who is affectionately known as Coach. And last night, 3 for 3 on the Fanduel lineups we gave out to our members. They all cashed. Let's do it again today, shall we?
You know what? I have no problem with that whatsoever. I love the fact that we busted 350 2 nights in a row. That makes it nice and juicy. So we're not only crushing those 50/50s and double ups, but we're hitting on those single entry tournaments like crazy. So I like the trend, my friend, and I think we keep it going today with a nice 8-game slate.
Excellent. Well, let's get into it. We're going to go game by game like we always do, get you
Yep.
ready for DraftKings and FanDuel. And with these 8 games tonight, we have 3 teams out of the 16 on the front end of a back to back. We don't
Correct.
have any totals over 230
Right.
on betus.com.pa, our presenting sponsor. We do have one below 200. So,
First time this year.
oh
First
boy.
time.
Oh
Yeah.
boy. So we'll get to that in a minute. But we are going to start with Orlando and Boston, 7:30 Eastern. And we've got some rested teams here. Orlando
Yes.
haven't played since Monday, and Boston has been off since last Friday because
Good
of
Lord.
the COVID cancellations.
Yeah.
In terms of the player news, on the Orlando side, Fournier, Mo Bamba, Michael Carter Williams are all out. On the Boston side, Tatum is out. Edwards is out. Tristan Thompson, Grant Williams look like they're going to be back in. And then questionable, we've got Tice, Javonte Green, Semi Ojeleye, and Jalen Brown. So
Crazy.
these teams are trying to figure out, what it's like to play in the NBA. Do we remember and who's going to be out there? But let's try to help our listeners figure out who we might want to play from this game.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the news is going to be imperative. I mean, that's the world we're in now with this COVID thing. You have to follow us all day on in our Discord if you're a member, or check us out on Twitter if you're not. I'm at Joe Sarvati, JoeSarvadi. Andrew's at Language Olympic, and Shane is at DET Sports Shane. You can reach any of us at DFS Coach Talk. All right. Yeah. I mean, these moving parts in this game are very confusing, very interesting. There's a couple of combinations of things. I don't mind Cole Anthony at his price. I think he's going to get the majority of those minutes. I keep sticking with him, and he's a decent player. You can certainly go with Vuk in this game as well. He's been on fire, playing well, and Boston may be undersized big time if Mr. Tice is
Tice.
going to be out. So we have to figure that piece of news out. Um, I think Taco Fall becomes a serious consideration at his low price, um, just because of the fact that he may get minutes, and when he's out there, he gets DFS points. So I know he's more of a GPP play, but if Tice sits, Taco could sneak into one of my cash lineups. So the other big piece for me on Boston side is if Tice does play, then he becomes in play. So you got to watch that. If Brown plays with Tatum already ruled out, looking at the usage, Brown's usage goes through the roof with Tatum out when he's playing. So Brown becomes a plug and play if he plays with no restrictions. If that doesn't happen, I know this sounds stupid, but it is what it is right now. If that combination changes, I actually like Grant Williams here. If Tice isn't playing, I think Grant will play a lot of small ball center. He'll go, he does well if he gets decent minutes. And if some of those other guys are out, I think he's 25 to 30 minutes in this game if Tice sits, because there's just such a mixture of guys. So, even though this game is 213 total, there are some good things in here. Boston's favored by 3. I don't know how they even set a line, not knowing all this information. But defensive efficiency, neither team is where they were last year at all. They're 16th and 21st. But in pace, it's not great, 20 and 18. So that's why the number's 213, which is the second lowest. But I think because of the COVID scenarios, that there can be some value plays here that can set up the rest of your lineup. So let's wait for the news on Boston. Don't count out Tice, Brown, uh, Taco Fall, or Grant Williams. I think you got to, depending on who's sitting, look at those guys. And then if you want to pay up, you can go Vuk. I have two other guys I'm focusing on paying up for. I think he's a good play, but I'm not going to go there. And I think Cole Anthony, if you need a value point guard, there's not a lot of guys at that price that are going to get 30 minutes at the point. So that's what I got, sir.
Okay. I agree with you that the news is huge for this game, probably as much as any game on the slate,
Correct.
because, just a lot of minutes to be had for the Celtics primarily. And the bigs is the question mark. I'm kind of looking at Tristan Thompson actually and hoping that Tice is out.
Okay.
In that scenario, I like Tristan Thompson. He's a power forward on FanDuel. He's only 4,400.
Yeah.
That's my favorite price of all the bigs for Boston that could be in play. With Taco Fall, he's 4,500 on FanDuel, so I wouldn't go there. On DraftKings at 3,300.
That's where I'm looking at him.
Maybe he gets in there to pay up for some studs on this slate. With Jaylen Brown, he is one of the guys to consider to pay up. So he's in the small handful of pay up guys for me. And I agree with you on Vukovic. I like the spot for him. He could smash, but I don't know if I'll get there because of the other opportunities we've got. The guy I like the most on the Orlando side is Aaron Gordon on FanDuel at 6,500.
Not bad.
Yeah, I think he can pay off that price tag pretty easily. So one other thing is with the Boston guards.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if Teague starts potentially or Pritchard. Teague, if there's some news that's going to affect the guards later in the slate, I think we're going to get some value opportunities. So probably won't go to somebody like Teague, but if there isn't news, he could, he's a decent price. But there's several guards in the mid 4K to 5K range on this slate. So he's not at the front of the list, but he's a guy that could pay off.
Okay.
All right, game 2, coach. This is the low total of the night.
Yeah, you get it first.
I get it. 197.5 on BetUS. New York and Cleveland. New York favored by 3. This one's going to be played in Cleveland. And these two teams played on December 29th in the same spot.
Yep.
And it was 95-86.
Yeah.
So that would have gone under the total by 16. And so not a lot of pace and DFS action here with the two teams bottom 4 in pace in the NBA. They're bottom 3 in offensive efficiency. I mean, it's just crazy. They just slowly move the ball and don't score.
Yeah, so not a DFS wonder. Right
no, it's
there.
not. It really isn't. Randall managed to smash value in that game. He had a nice triple-double.
Yeah.
So, he is capable of doing it. 9,100.
So expensive.
A little expensive in a game like this. It wouldn't shock me if he pays off value. I probably am not going to go there. Rivers is a decent price on FanDuel. If he starts again, he's only 4,500.
Right.
The news we've got with New York is that Burks is doubtful and Bullock is questionable.
Right.
So if Bullock comes back, maybe he starts and Rivers comes off the bench. But Rivers could be a value play there. On the Cleveland side, I don't think I'm going to go anywhere here with the bigs. Drummond pretty expensive. But Dotson, if he starts again, 5,000 as a point guard on FanDuel, because we still have Sexton out, Dellavedova, Garland, and Love. So I like Dotson potentially on FanDuel at 5,000. So this game is probably at most a one-off for me.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a 197 total and two of the four lowest paces in the league, it's hard to rile somebody up here. Now, let me ask you this question. Again, it's, we're live on here. So I looked through to see if any of these traded players in this Harden fiasco trade, are they any of them playing tonight that
I
you've
don't think
seen?
so. I
Okay, it's
checked on
not
Jared Allen.
finalized.
I don't think he's playing. I thought there was a 7-day delay period on trades with health and safety protocols.
Okay.
So I don't expect any of these traded players to be playing yet.
Okay, I'm with you because I mean that obviously would change everything with Cleveland, with what they're going to do. I shy away from this game simply because of just the blatant numbers. I mean, they don't lie. Um, I'm not going to pay up big money, for a Julius Randle or even a Drummond when this game could be, 95-90 and you just not that many minutes available and DFS points. The only guy I have a little interest in, if Bullock sits, I agree with you. Austin Rivers is playable because he gets a ton of minutes and they look to him to shoot the ball. I mean, when he's out there, he's one of the top three options, all the time. So we got to watch that news because if Bullock's playing, I don't want that timeshare. The other guy, just a little bit of interest in Jetty Osman. He's been probably the most consistent non-big for them. He never blows it out, but he doesn't usually let you down. He's right in that 5-6x, and he's cheap. And if you're trying to buy up like I am, he may sneak in a lineup, but for the most part, I'd like to avoid this game if at all possible. One off at the very most for me.
Yeah, and Chetty Osman only in play for me on Fanduel at 5,100.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't like the 6,200 on DraftKings.
No. 51's fair though.
Yeah. Okay, game 3, coach. We've got your Mavericks traveling to Milwaukee to play the Bucks, and this is an exciting situation. Highest total on the board here, 228.
Yep.
Milwaukee favored by 6.5. We've got a bunch of guys out still for Dallas: Powell, Brunson, DFS, Jay Rich. We've got Porzingis probable, Kleba questionable. On the Milwaukee side, we have Torrey Craig probable to get back into the rotation after dealing with that broken nose. And Drew Holiday is probable with the ankle issue. So break this one down for us. We've got some exciting players in this one, and I want to hear your take on it.
Well, we hadn't talked about this prior to the pod, but you're right on the money. This is by far my key game of the night. I'm going to have 3 to 4 guys from this game, probably 3, but this is going to be the game that I'm focusing on. I like the matchup here. Dallas's rotation is still very small with all those guys out. Milwaukee's playing good ball. Now, there's a couple of things here. The only thing to be concerned about, in my opinion, they are 2nd and 7th in defensive efficiency. So that may throw some of the ownership off. But 25th and 6th in pace, this game feels like Dallas is getting into a groove. KP's probably going to play 25 to 28 minutes. He played like 21, I think, the last game, or 23. And so, he's still too expensive for me until, like I said, the 3rd or 4th game in, when I know he can get really big minutes. But I've not done this all season long, Andrew, but believe it or not, and I've already created lineups so it can work, I am going to try to buy the 2 most expensive guys on the slate and just let them have at it. I think Luka and Giannis are the 2 best plays. Unfortunately, they're the 2 most expensive, but I think that I'll be contrarian because I don't think many people will try to roster both of them and fit in all the value. So if I can, start off and have Luka and Giannis both 65 plus DFS points, which I think is possible in this game with some of the shortages on the Dallas side. I love paying up for these 2 guys. The correlation that they happen to be in the same game and the fact that it'll be contrarian enough because most people will only play one of the two of them. I just love it. I think it gives me a great chance. Now, I have to start looking for value, so I'm going to do that right away in this game. I think, again, this is going to sound like a GPP play, but, I watch the Mavs closely, and Wes Iwundu has been starting, and even when he doesn't start and he comes off the bench, he's getting 25, 28 minutes, and he's really glue for the Dallas team. He has filled in defensively for all of the good perimeter guys from Dallas, like Dorian Finney-Smith and Jay Brunson and Josh Richardson. So they need him on the floor. He gets some ancillary points. I think with Milwaukee pushing the pace, he gets a few more rebounds and shots. I'm looking for him just at almost minimum price to just get to that low 20 fantasy points, fill in a 5x square for me with my big people. So he's a serious consideration. I really like him in GPPs. The other guy that I think at center that can have a good game here is Brook Lopez. He's cheap, and he's in the past been a difficult matchup for the Mavs. They're going to rotate Willie Cauley-Stein and maybe a little Boban. KP will play a little center probably as well. But the combination of Brook being able to hit some threes, get a nice amount of rebounds, and block a few shots, which he normally does, I think he can be a good 6x guy at his low price as well. So this is a big game for me. The 228 number is good. Milwaukee's 7.5-point favorite, but I think the Mavs can keep this closer. They are a different team completely when KP is on the floor. And the fact that he looks good and they have him back, the spacing is different. The finishing at the rim is different. That high pick and roll is tough. And I think this game stays tight. And I just like the upside here. And I think, that contrarian approach of having Luka and Giannis and making it work in the rest of the directions could be something that takes me over the top. What do you think?
I think it could. It's an exciting thought to consider that contrarian approach, and I look forward to seeing how it works out for you with the value, and if you stick with it, and if there's more news today to help you with that build. And I'm probably going to be in the group that has one or the other, and I'm leaning towards Luka.
Yeah.
He's the guy that I want in here in my lineups. I like his minutes a little bit more than Giannis. But, getting back to Giannis and Luka, these two teams played in the preseason, and that's when both guys were ramping up their minutes, but they were dominating the usage in that game. And it was, you got that feel of back and forth, and they were very productive in short minutes. And I agree. I think it's going to be quite a show where both of them have strong games. And so that's why I think it could work out. In terms of the other guys in this game, in terms of the value plays, I think Brook Lopez is the favorite for me of the guys you mentioned.
I did forget a guy, Andrew, Trey Burke, I wanted to mention.
I was going to bring that up.
I like him too because he gets a lot of shots up. The ball wouldn't fall for him the last game. It was in and out, but he's going to get shots up.
Yeah, he's the next guy. Like 32 minutes in that last game, he took 12 shots. Like you said, he just was off. He was 2 for 12, but I feel good about his minutes, his shots. The other guy that I was looking at is Wes Iwundu, but
really,
I'm not feeling good about him. I agree that he's a real GPP play, and the thing that I was looking at before the show is the fact that he's just not shooting. No. It's like, did Carlisle tell him to focus on what you said, the defense and the glue? Like, if that's what he's supposed to be doing, he's doing a good job of that, but he's not shooting it.
My point here, and you're exactly right. He is doing the Draymond Green routine of try to do everything, get people involved, set picks, get rebounds, play great D. But here's the thing, guys like that, you give them the minutes and the opportunity, and the ball starts bouncing your way a little bit. You finish on a fast break, you get an easy layup, you get a little putback, you get a tip in. It just seems like guys that improve in those real cheap prices will have a game where all of a sudden they throw 14 real points in there or something. And that's what I'm counting on. And let's face it, it's not all rainbows and sunshine when you pay up for Giannis and Luka. You've got to find the right spots for a couple of those super cheap guys that are going to pop for you. And that's the risk, but it's a risk reward kind of deal.
No wonder you're looking at guys like Taco Fall and Owundo. You're going for the 3K guys on DraftKings. This is kind of exciting.
It's a stars and scrubs again, but you know what? It's been working, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it has worked a lot on DraftKings this season with the pricing. One more thing with Owundo in terms of the numbers. He's, by my quick math, he's played 78 minutes this season. He's only taken 19 shots, so that's like one every 4 minutes. Right. So if he plays 30 minutes, if the pace continues, he may only take 6 or 7 shots. So he does need a couple bounces, get transition, a couple layups, and it could work out certainly at that price with those minutes. And it reminds me of a guy in that sort of slot that sometimes jumps off the page, and it's Dorian Finney-Smith. He's in that same spot for Dallas often, where he's like around 4,000, and he'll just go 4 or 5 games without doing much, and then all of a sudden he puts up 35 fantasy points. Yeah, and he can help you take down a tournament. So
yeah, I mean, and that happens sometimes. And on DraftKings, Owundo's 3,100.
Right.
So I mean that rates the ship pretty quick when you have Luka and Giannis in there, and that's what it's tempting. I'm not saying he's one of my best plays by any stretch, but I just think what Dallas has been doing and the way Carlisle coaches, he wants defensive presence out there all the time, and the Mavericks' best 3 defensive perimeter players are out. So I mean I think his minutes are safe, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And in that, and he's only 3,500, the minimum on FanDuel. So for what it's worth, I mean, it's a spot to possibly go. It is risky, but sometimes you gotta roll the dice a little.
Absolutely. 2 other price tags I'll mention. Willie Cauley-Stein, only 4,100 on DraftKings.
Very tempting.
I like that.
Yes.
And then Middleton, 7,400 on FanDuel. I like that one as well.
Not bad.
All right. Game 4, Coach. We've got Memphis and Minnesota. This is a rematch from Wednesday. Memphis won that one 118-107. We may have a different look here. Ja Morant is questionable, and not seeing anything that makes me feel very confident that he's going to play. Wouldn't surprise me if he comes back in the next one, but just keep an eye on that. On the Minnesota side, Jake Layman is out, Juancho is out, and Rubio is out. Kogi is probable with the hamstring, and Cat is probable with the wrist. Now, This is a 224.5 total, so kind of in the middle here on this slate. Minnesota favored by 2. These 2 teams are not good offensively. They're both in the 20s in terms of offensive efficiency. Right. Minnesota is bad defensively. So Memphis gets a little bit of a boost there. They're both above average in pace. So kind of an average game from that perspective. We talked on the last show where we had this Memphis game that nobody on Memphis is priced over 7,000. Now Joe Val is up there after his 24-16 outing against Big Cat. It was only the second time all season he's played 30 minutes. So he could conceivably have a similar performance and pay off that price tag. I don't think I'm going to go there as my first option, though, with center. Clark had a good game. He's still at solid price on FanDuel at 5,600. Melton got 25 minutes in the last game. I like that. Again, if Ja comes back, that's going to mess things up a little bit. On the Minnesota side, here's the guy that I like most in this game, D'Angelo Russell. He's only 7,500 on FanDuel. He's a shooting guard over there. And again, with Rubio out, I think that just gives a tiny bit of a boost to D'Angelo. I think he's going to have to do a little bit more. And then Beasley, he went off in this last matchup. He's 6,400 on FanDuel. Still probably a little pricey for me, but he is certainly stepping up. So I'm really into D'Angelo Russell today, Coach. What are your thoughts on him?
Well, I mean, I'm not crazy about this game, and I certainly need to know the Ja Morant news. I mean, that's going to affect the game completely. Um, but, I agree with you that D'Angelo is intriguing today. But remember, Memphis right now is fourth in the league in defensive efficiency. They do have some guys like Brooks and stuff that get after it, and he'll probably be on D'Angelo. So I just don't want to quite pay up. Beasley's been a little overpriced all year. Um, Even if Josh sits, I don't like this Tyus Jones Melton split. That makes me nervous. Brooks, again, like we said the last time, we warned everybody, and I think he went like 2 for 15 or something. He's a guy that can hit 40 DFS points or 10 or 15. He does get minutes, but I can't put him in there. So really, Cat doesn't defend well, and I think Joe Val deserves consideration. Is very fair, and he did murder this team the last time out. So Joe Val's my only consideration from this game. I don't care much for it.
Okay. Well, for the folks who care about gambling, sports gambling with DFS, here's an offer for you to consider.
Listen up, sports bettors. It's go time, so put down the beer and make every sporting event more exciting by putting stakes on the line. Earn bragging rights over friends as you rake in the cash from each week's betting action, but don't settle for any other book. Choose America's favorite sportsbook with over 25 trusted years in the industry. You need a sportsbook with integrity and longevity, and most importantly, a sportsbook that pays. BetUS has your game with action on football, baseball, and basketball, MMA, golf, horses, and even esports. No other sportsbook welcomes newcomers like BetUS with their jaw-dropping sign-up bonuses. Now we have the best book in the industry teamed up with the best DFS provider in the industry. Make your first deposit of $149 at betus.com.pa with promo code CoachTalk and receive a free membership with DFS Coach Talk until April 1, 2021. With full access to our DFS lineups in NBA, NFL, PGA, and MLB, the best in the biz. Sign up today to make straight bets, future bets, prop bets, entertainment bets, live bets, and more. No other sportsbook in the industry is committed to their users like BetUS. So sign up now and get on the winning side of the ball.
Welcome back, and thank you to BetUS for extending that offer to our listeners. Again, use that promo code CoachTalk, all one word, if you are a first-time deposit person on BetUS, and then let us know that you've done that on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk. We'll get you into our Discord. That's where we give out our lineups. We don't just do this free podcast. We give out full lineups on Fanduel to our members in Discord. Again, last night, 3 for 3. We're going to try to match it again tonight. We give out at least one cash lineup and a GPP lineup on every slate. And then we give out the coach's clipboard on DraftKings with core plays highlighted and pivots, and the full Yahoo lineup if you play over there. So take advantage of that. If you're not into the sports betting, you can still be a member. Go to our website, dfscoachtalk.com. Sign up there for whichever length you'd like, and we'll, again, send you an email with the invite to Discord and get you started. So,
and we're offering that same offer, the 149 all the way through April 1st, which is still our best offer that we have going. So love to have you. We're getting a lot of momentum. A couple of new members I want to give a quick shout out to. I had a great conversation with at T Downs 87. Terrific guy. He's pumped up. Also been chatting a lot with our buddy Bradman 99. He's also getting involved and having some luck. And I know we shouted him out the other day, but I think we screwed it up. It's MDNKY83. So really enjoy, too. As part of your membership, you get, as many one-on-ones as you can handle with me. I'll be happy to meet with you, talk with you, look at our strategy, the Coach Talk process, our contest selection, our bankroll management. Those are keys. And when I talk to somebody for an hour, we'll talk 45 minutes about all of that stuff, and then 15 minutes on the player selection part. Because if you don't do the other stuff right, you can't get to the point of winning the contest. So just want to give a shout out to those guys in a quick mention. and really appreciate our new members, very active, getting everything going. And I'll take this time also, if you're watching this on YouTube, we're making a big run there, and it's super important. It's moving us up. More people are seeing us. Take a second to give us a thumbs up. Hit that little alert button. That's key, because then you know as soon as any of our podcasts post, and subscribe. If you subscribe to us and retweet and like Joe Stanton and Tyler Pitzer will post stuff in our DFS Coach Talk on Twitter. And if you do that, you qualify for a drawing for a free week membership. And that we have another contest coming up this weekend. So really encourage you. We really appreciate that on YouTube. Also, if you're listening to us anywhere podcasts can be found, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, take a second, if you would, give us a 5-star, maybe 1 or 2 words that you enjoy the pod on there. And that really, again, it moves us up in the algorithms with all the different social media and podcasting sites. And it's a big help for us. And we keep this podcast in front of the paywall 7 days a week, because we want everybody to jump aboard and get involved. So there you go. I'm done. I got all my stuff out of the way.
Yeah, and thank you all for your support in all these different places. All right, Coach, Game 5. It's Chicago and Oklahoma City.
Yes.
In terms of the news, on the Chicago side, Satoransky and Hutchinson are still out. Garrett Temple, questionable. He's had a bit of a bump lately in opportunity, but even if he plays, that's likely to be minimized here, because Otto Porter is probable to get back out there, and Lauri Markkanen has been cleared to play.
Yeah.
On the OKC side, Baisley questionable with the ankle. So what do you have here?
I get myself stuck on these Oklahoma City games all the time, because I just don't like their squad and what they get done out there. And I know they've won some games, so I'm not saying anything negative against them. It's just it's not a big stack situation. Now, based on the numbers, I mean, Oklahoma City's actually favored by 1.5. It's a 224.5 total, which is very respectable. You've got defensive efficiency ratings here that do not scare anybody. 29th for Chicago, 20th for Oklahoma City. And the pace is very reasonable. Chicago pushes the ball. They're 3rd, and Oklahoma City is 19th. So I certainly, I could see somebody playing 2, even 3 guys from this game. I'm just not a huge fan of it, because, I can't afford Levine or Kobe, and or Shea on the other side. Those are the 3 best players in my opinion. Everybody else is sort of a hit or miss ancillary fit. If I had the salary, I'd have no problem even with a correlation play. It'd be cool to have like Levine and Shea, but they're super expensive. And, unfortunately, even though this game is very playable, more than likely I'm going to pass.
Well, I'm going to pass OKC for sure. I'm not going to play any of those guys. On the Chicago side, I am interested in the guards, but Levine is expensive. 9,000 on Fanduel, I think, could work as a shooting guard, especially in a GPP. He was a monster in that last game against the Clippers. 45 points and 7 boards and 7 assists. He played 42 minutes, and Kobe White played 43.
Amazing. So why can't the Clippers defend anymore?
Yeah,
people are blowing them up every night.
Yeah, strange. But I mean, Levine, he's ultra talented and tremendous athleticism.
Yeah.
And Donovan is saying, "Hey, go do it. You and Kobe run the show. You're going to be out there the whole game, basically."
Yeah.
And they're taking advantage of it. So, they could work for me in a GPP, but I'm not looking anywhere else in that game other than those guys.
Yeah.
Game number 6, Coach. Atlanta and Utah. A 9 o'clock tip.
Yeah.
And Atlanta's on the front end of a back-to-back. They've got to go from Utah tonight to Portland tomorrow. This is a 226.5 total.
Yeah.
Utah favored by 6. They've won 3 straight on the road. So they're back into a good groove, and now they get to play at home. Injury news, we've got Okongwu available for Atlanta.
Yeah.
Rondo is questionable. On the Utah side, Joe Ingles is out, and Derek Favors is probable. Now, for me, it's a healthy total, but I don't think I'm going to get much exposure to this game. Just not quite working with my build. The one guy who could work in as a value play and just sort of fill out the roster would be Hunter. He's 6,000 on both sites. That's playable for me.
Yeah.
Trae Young is extremely affordable for his history, under 9,000 on both sites. He just hasn't been shooting well this year.
No.
He's slumping. So I probably will just wait and see if he can get that figured out. Cam Reddish is a GPP option for me on FanDuel at 4,500, but he's down the list of priority. On the Utah side, Donovan Mitchell 7,800 is reasonable on FanDuel. The price that jumps out at me though is Bogdanovich, 4,300 on FanDuel.
Stunning.
As a power forward. And
he's not a power forward either.
No, he's not. We've seen recently, though, that he is very inconsistent. That's the thing with Utah. Yeah. They just mix and match, who really does the work offensively. So he could be a GPP option for me at that price. But other than that, not really interested in this game.
Yeah, I'm not going to pay up for anybody here. As you know, I'm a little cash strapped today.
Yes, you are.
The thing is this, Trey's not playing well enough. It's that simple. Now you have, Collins who's played okay, but you still have, the big man who's there's Capella. And then now you have a Okongwu, the new rookie, that's going to get some, even if he gets 12 minutes or so, he's going to take some of those boards and do some stuff inside. And Utah with the Stifle Tower is always, tough. They're going to protect the rim. I like two value plays since I'm Mr. Value now that I spent all my money. But I think these two guys, I agree with you 1,000,000%. Do you know that the year before last, when Bogdanovich was with the Nets, for quite a while, he was leading them in scoring, and I'll never forget it. He was at 8,000 as a shooting guard, and now he's at 4,300 as a power forward. I mean, that's value personified. Even if he has, if he happens to get hot, and Atlanta's not exactly the best defensive team in the league. I mean, they're okay at 11th, but man, I think that at that price, he's just too good of a value to pass up. And I agree with you. On the Atlanta side, the guy that is emerging with this trending down of Trae and everybody sharing the ball is Hunter. He's shooting the ball well from three. He's a tremendous defender. He's going to get you some stocks, and he's just getting more minutes because he's playing so well. So for value purposes, my takeaways in this game on both sides are Hunter and Bogdanovich.
Speaking of things you'll never forget, I still remember the first time I saw Hunter play in college. It was against Duke, and I just watched him move around the court and play the game, and I said, wow, there's an NBA player.
He really is. Virginia, correct?
Virginia, yeah. So it's fun to see him develop. He's really
Well,
really
his
talented.
big knock was he had all of the pieces except his shooting was inconsistent. And if you look at his percentages now, he's killing it. He's shooting the ball better from three than Trae.
Yeah.
Would you believe that?
I want to say he's right around 39% or so.
Yeah, he's higher percentage from three than Trae, which no one would ever believe.
Exactly. All right, Coach, we have two games left, the 10 o'clock Eastern tips. Let's start with the Pelicans and Lakers. And we've got Lonzo Ball still out and Bledsoe still questionable.
Yeah.
So get ready for some Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
How fun was that touting NAW, and then he pops for a 50 burger?
Oh, we locked him in on both sites. That was so much fun.
I love that guy. I'm telling you, he just needs the opportunity.
It's like they said on the broadcast, these guys like Lonzo and Bledsoe, they better be careful and they better get back on the court quickly or their minutes could be jeopardized a little bit. We also have got Zion back in after some question marks with the health and safety protocols. So he's back in on the Lakers side. Wesley Matthews questionable. KCP probable. What do you have here for us?
Well, I'm not super big on this game. I think, the line. What do you have the latest line on this one? I
218.5. Lakers
Okay.
favored by 9.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I mean, you've got two top 10 defenses. That scares me. New Orleans 10th. Lakers have taken first back over. Excuse me. And we have, it's still COVID, still killing me, man. I'm not quite there yet. The pace, 26 for New Orleans, 13 for the Lakers. So the pace doesn't exactly pay off. And you have the 218.5 total. We never know what the hell's going on with Lakers because the NBA allows them to mark LeBron and Davis questionable every single game. We have to assume they play. We don't know that for sure. But if they do play, with New Orleans being a little shorthanded, there's always a possibility at LA that it could blow out. I mean, this is the only double-digit, number on the board. I don't think most of those other games blow out. So, little concerned there. Certainly can't afford to pay up for the big boys from the Lakers or even Ingram or Zion. And really, with the interior defense of the Lakers, and I'm not crazy about rostering anybody on that side. I mean, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, if Bledsoe sits, needs to be a very highly owned guy because he's going to contribute. He doesn't even need to bring the 50 burger. Even if he went 38 or something, that's perfectly fine at his salary. So you got to like him. Really on the Lakers side of the ball, it's hard to give advice out if we don't know what's going on with LeBron or AD. If they both play, I don't like anybody from that side. If one of them sits, then you got to start considering, Schroeder if LeBron sits or Kuzma possibly if AD sits or whatever. You can look at those options with that news. Again, we say it all day. Follow us all day. But then once we give the lineups in Discord, that's not even close to the end of the work for the night. You got to stay in Discord through the games because with COVID and with, this stuff the Lakers pull and everything, there's always shifting and changing lineups. All three sites have late swap, and we will make some of those moves, so you got to stay in tune with it. And it's going to take some of those moves to really get me to play anybody else out of this game other than Nah.
Yeah, if Bledsoe's out again, then Nah is going to be locked in for me again. 4,400 on DraftKings is an absolute steal, and 5,500 on FanDuel. It's a little bit more, but still, he's locked in for me. I'd say, if there's major news, there's a chance I could put a lineup out there without him, but I doubt it. If Bledsoe's out, I think he's probably 100% locked for me also on FanDuel.
He's going to be chalk. Yeah, you got to eat the chalk with him at that price.
Don't mind it at all.
Yeah.
We talk about that a lot with our members.
Yeah.
If it's chalk and he's cheap and he's going to smash, you want him in your lineup. It doesn't matter if everyone else has him or not.
And I want to say one more point there because people don't realize, and if you're listening or new listening, even in a guy like that everybody's going to gravitate to, if he starts and we know his usage is good, and you can't fade them because you think, oh, he's going to be so highly owned. Because if you're playing cash specifically, you got to use that guy as a blocker because he's allowing you to get other better players in. And if 70% of the people have him in your cash game and you're passing on him, that means you're generally having to pay up for somebody else, and he could outscore him, which is going to put you at a disadvantage. And then by doing that, you have to go down price-wise on someone else. So don't be afraid to eat some of the just, blatant chalk. Like Troy Brown last night. He made our slate for us. He was phenomenal. Or I'm sorry. Yes, Sterling Brown. He was great. And, he was unavoidable. You had to play him, whether it be because he thought he'd do great or as a blocker because he was going to get a lot of play. So I just wanted to mention that because a lot of people will say, I'm going to pivot because he's chalk. Well, that's not a good choice sometimes. It is if it's a high price guy. If you think Luka's going to get shut down, or maybe his usage goes down because of KP or whatever, and you want to pivot from that makes perfect sense. But in a giveaway spot like this with a guy like Nah, if it works out that way, just don't be afraid to just do it. Click the all button.
Exactly. I mean, if he's an expensive guy like a Durant, and you've got Irving out and Harden out and LeVert, whoever's on that team on that given day, then you can think about fading him. But fading Nah tonight if Bledsoe's out, the only reason it could work out is if he gets hurt in the first quarter.
Yeah,
otherwise
you can't predict that variance. That's for
otherwise
sure.
A cheap guy like that, you got to lock him in.
If he gets hurt tonight, you're in big trouble for jinxing him.
Hart at 4,400 on FanDuel. If he starts again, I like that price. And that's probably it for me with the Pelicans. I think Zion and Ingram are fair prices, but tough defense here against the Lakers. Yeah. On the Lakers side, I don't think I'm going to go with any of these guys. Gasol at 3,800 could work in a lineup for me as a pay down punt value play at center to be able to pay up elsewhere.
I think the two bigs, Adams is back, and mainly him, and they still have Jackson Hayes, just to throw it out there. Yeah,
that's why I think his minutes will be solid. 24 minutes, he can pay that off. All right, Coach, last game of the night, we've got the Clippers and the Kings. This is the other high total alongside Milwaukee and Dallas, 227.5 on BetUS. Clippers favored by 7, and the Kings are coming off 2 really high-scoring games against Indiana and Portland. So they are really shaping up as a great team to be looking at, and the matchups that they're involved in. They're 9th in pace, 10th in offensive efficiency, starting to really get it together with that group of really talented young players, and they're 30th on defense. So it's the perfect combination. Yeah. And the Clippers, like you referenced earlier, they're still not doing it defensively. 26th.
How is that possible? That's the most. I would have almost fired the coach just for that. How can they should be top 5 with a blindfold. 26th. Unbelievable.
It is. But they're getting it done offensively. They're second in offensive efficiency. So really good game environment here. And we do have some news. Pat Beverly is questionable with the personal issue, and Lou Williams is questionable with the hip. Yeah. So we could have a Luke Kennard opportunity for value. True. He's at a good price on both sites, under 4,000.
Yep.
Kawhi's in play for me tonight, under 10,000. If you don't pay up for Giannis, for example, I like that he played 39 minutes against Chicago. Paul George played 38. So Kawhi's in play for me. On the Kings side, we've got Buddy Hield still labeled as probable, but he's been playing big minutes. So I think he'll be out there. And it's developing into a big 4 for me with Sacramento. The guys to look at every night: Fox, Hield, Halliburton, and Holmes. And Fox, I think, is the guy that I like the most here with his price. He's only 7,300 on FanDuel.
Yeah.
Still in play on DraftKings at 81. And again, if Pat Beverly's out, it's a much easier situation for Fox to be able to do his work. Holmes is really stepping up here, getting big minutes, showing an all-around game, but he's getting more expensive. So he's a little bit tougher to fit into the lineup. But I do like this game. What are your thoughts on it? Will you have some exposure or any money left?
Well, I do. I have, as you can tell, with several of the players I've thrown out there, I've been saving dollars because I do have I have a third key buy-up guy. And for people to say, oh, yeah, sure, you can't have it. I'm looking at my lineup right now. I have $0 left. And that lineup has Luka, it has Giannis, and this guy, Paul George. I love Paul George. And again, I know I'm scraping. It's 3 stars and a bunch. I'm not going to call them scrubs. I'm going to call them contributors today.
Okay, there you go.
That's my new word for my guys. But I think Paul George, with the 2 point guards from the Clippers being questionable, I don't think they may play. If they do, we don't know if it's going to be monitored. But the bottom line is this. I don't fall into the Reggie Jackson trap. He's in the coach's doghouse. He's played 0 minutes in the last couple of games, did not play coach's decision. They're not going to just throw him in there for 30 minutes at point. I think Paul George plays a lot of point guard in this game, and he's playing well. So on top of his normal output in points, I think you're going to see a lift in assists for sure, some steals. I think his involvement in usage will go up if he's handling the ball more. And so I just think he's unavoidable. I mean, I called it last night with three. I said, these three guys, I told you that I had Sabonis, the Joker, and Wood. I said, they could be the top 3 scorers on the entire slate. They were 3 of the top 5 scorers on the slate, which is going to give you some healthy results. I feel the same about Luka, Giannis, and Paul George tonight. I like them as 3 of the top scorers on the entire slate. And I think that pulls enough away, just because Paul George is going to have the ball more, pulls a little away from Kawhi. And, I love him. And then you hit on the exact right guy. I think the guy that benefits dirt cheap to help make that work is Luke Kennard. He hasn't been killing it, but his minutes have been steady, and he can get hot. He's the kind of guy that can throw 30 or 40 DFS points up there on any given night. And Sacramento, again, 30th in defense is helpful. That's for sure. So I like those 2 guys on that side. Sacramento, again, I can't afford Fox. I think he's a good play in this situation if for sure Beverly's out, because he has been fantastic. You see that dunk he had the other day too, for a little dude? Amazing. Oof. But, Hield again, his price is a little shaky for me because he's inconsistent, but man, he went off that last game. So I get it. Halliburton's price is still good, but not quite where I'd like it. So I may go zeros on the Sacramento side, just because, as bad as Sacramento's played defensively, I still respect Ibaka and George and Kawhi and these guys to maybe slow down Holmes and some of the interior players. So it's all focused on George for me, and certainly a possible value play with Kennard.
Excellent. Well, the couple of guys you hit on there at the end are shooting guards, and that's going to be the key for me on FanDuel, is which 2 shooting guards to pick. There's a bunch that I like at various price ranges. And you mentioned Hield and Halliburton. They're both shooting guards, and their price is much better on FanDuel than DraftKings. So
yeah,
you just add them to the mix, and that's going to be the biggest decision of the night from my perspective. And we are going to work on that up until lock and get those lineups finalized for our members. And again, we invite you to join us. Let us know if you have any questions on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk. Coach, do you want to close out the show for us?
Sure. I appreciate, as we both do, everybody listening. We've had 5 straight winning nights on our main FanDuel hybrid lineup, and we just want to keep it rolling. It's a great time to jump in. We'd love to have you. Really appreciate you taking this time with us each day to listen. Give us some comments anytime, right on YouTube where you're watching us, or you can shoot us any notes right on Twitter. As we said, we're at DFS Coach Talk if you want to reach any of us. So fantastic, great show. It's going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of builds tonight that are very different. I'm going to ride this Stars and Scrubs thing hopefully into the sunset, as it's been working so far, but it's going to be a little bit of a double take when you look at my lineup when I post it in Discord, because you'll see some Lukas and Giannis's, but you're also going to see possibility of some Awandus and Falls and Grant Williams and Luke Kennard. So it's one of those nights where you just got to hit it right. And I think we've been hot, and we want to keep it going. So again, we appreciate each of you, and we look to catch you every day, 7 days a week on the NBA pods. Catch Andrew and Shane. They have their 2 NFL pods up right now for Saturday and Sunday, and I listened to them this morning. They're fantastic. Check those out. And then If you're in Discord with us, we're going to be posting lineups again for the PGA tomorrow for the weekend. Right now, we're hovering right at the top of the leaderboard for the whole tournament. So jump in. We were hot last year in the Hawaii run of PGA events, and we're picking right back up where we left off. So we'd love to have you. Thanks for joining us today. And we will get this posted here right after lunch on the East Coast. And we hope you can listen in. And then I'll be back tomorrow and Sunday solo handling the NBA. So hopefully I'm not choking to death then too. I'll have to have some water handy, but we will get you some more winners. So let's crush it tonight. Thank you again. We're at DFS Coach Talk. Andrew, great job. And we will talk to you again tomorrow when we look to crush it in NBA DFS.